Okay, I think I've told this story a time or two different places, and I don't remember if I have or not. So details might be fuzzy, but this is something funny that happened to me in high school. I I am basically like the antithesis of a computer person. I don't really deal with them well at all, and as a result, most people figure that, I'm not even remotely the hacker type. Well, I got detention once in high school for computer hacking. I got it in the 11th grade for computer hacking in the ninth grade. and I wasn't so much the one that did the hacking, really. I so we had a Spanish class, and they stuck us in this computer lab with Rosetta Stone, and then we had like a robotics class after that. That was kind of a bullshit class. So we had a couple hours just blocked off at the end of fucking school, right? And it was me and a couple of my buddies and all of these like nerds that were in the robotics class with us stuck there for forever. And I'm a nerd, but in my own way. And like we always hung out with all of them because we all liked science fiction. And if we can talk fucking Star Wars, a lot of other shit can go by the wayside. And like uh as a result, we got to complaining about shit. And the shit that we were complaining about was the school's internet security. And basically I kind of went step by step through, okay, well, we need to do this. How would we do this? Okay, now that we have that, how do we do this? And just broke the entire school's fucking internet security using MS DOS to figure out, you had to use MS DOS to figure out the routing number of where you wanted to go on the internet, not the name of the website, but like the routing numbers, because the school's internet security had a hole in it, and its hole was that it didn't block out the actual routing numbers; it just blocked out Google.com or whatever, whatever website it was. So you can use MS DOS to find out the routing number of any website and just go there. But that sucks to do. And as a result of that, we started looking for ways to cheat the system. And ultimately, what it came up with was proxy sites. I think that's what they call them. Back then, we were calling them tunnels. We went to vtunnel.com. It was some like internet proxy site in fucking Europe somewhere that had like half naked ladies flashing across the screen and shit. And we got the numbers for that website, the routing numbers, and it was like 154.120.27.87 or something like that. So it was something that was not too bad to remember. And you just sat there and committed that shit to memory. And then you could just go anywhere you wanted on the internet. Well, there were like 8 of us in there, maybe 7 of us, depending on the day and whatever, because some people had other things to do that time of day, and it was such a bullshit thing that you could just go. uh, well, the Spanish class before that was just myself and a buddy of mine, Tim, who was also sci-fi nerd, whatever, and was not even in the robotics class. If I don't remember, maybe he was. I can't remember. But in either case, it was him and I, and like all of the girls that weren't good at Spanish. So it was all the pretty girls. Yeah, it's not saying that they were all stupid or anything like that, but like I was in there because I was bad at Spanish. So, but the point of all this was when it was just the, six, seven, eight of us in the robotics class that knew this, things went swimmingly. Eventually, Tim and I were using those numbers to go wherever the fuck we wanted on the internet in Spanish class because we'd already done all the work for the Spanish class. Because as it turns out, that if you power through it, you can do 2 years of Rosetta Stone in about a month and a half. You don't learn much Spanish, but like el perro, el tango, el gato, en los pantalones, el peligro del peligrosos. Something like that. Biztec. See, I retained some of it. I hate foreign languages. Anyway, so some of these girls see us doing this and like, how are you going to, Facebook and all that? Because like Tim was doing Facebook and that's what gave it away. Like everything else that I was going to was like a Star Wars website or something about camping and survival and whatever. Uh, None of that raised any eyebrows. The second Tim went to Facebook after I gave him the numbers, well, then it was we had to tell all of these women. I love women, but when women are girls in high school in particular, there's no way on earth that was ever going to be a secret ever again. And basically, this led to the entire school knowing these numbers, the entire school completely circumventing the school security system for the better part of 2 years. Proud of that one. It took them a really long time to catch us. And that's like most of the time that I was in high school at that school. Their internet security didn't work for the whole school because of me. And the best part was a couple of the teachers used those numbers. And the part that I really love about this story is the nerds from the class, the Spanish class, they had the knowledge to do this, but they lacked the command abilities, I would put it. They lacked the organizational power and the ability to work a problem and shit like that. And that's what makes me dangerous. Uh, I realized that then, basically, that like if you put me in a group of people like that that have various skills, there's a lot of different shit that I could do. That's why I started trying to do businesses and stuff and making things. And I just kind of tried to go anywhere where I could like find people to work with because it's not like I don't have any skills of my own, but I'm really, really, really good about seeing that you have this valuable skill and being able to tailor my skills to what you're lacking or whatever. And I can work well with people like that. And that's not everybody. I can do a lot of things really well. So if you can do one or two things really well, I'll just let you do those things and I'll do other shit. That's not me being arrogant or whatever. It's just that I've made so much shit in my life in so many different mediums that I'm handy, especially at like, hey, we're trying to solve this problem and we don't know how to do it. I have a lot of like random obscure knowledge that gives me unusual answers that oftentimes are not only the best answer, but they're better than the other answers by a fair margin, usually because they're cheap. And if you have like a business or something like that, that's why you hire me. It's like, where can we save money and how, and like, how will that affect our business? That's the shit I'm really good at. Um, I wish I could get big restaurant chains to listen to me because, like, right now we're watching the fucking death of fast food in America, I think, because they're gonna buy into this fucking like eating bug shit. And at least for me, the second that they do that, I'm not ever eating any of that shit ever again. And I'm not totally convinced that we aren't already starting to be fed that shit. Somehow, McDonald's prices stay the same no matter what else happens. How's that possible? Back to the hacking story, though. Uh, so they catch us. Not gonna go into details on that, but let's just say that the words scantily clad woman were used in reference to like the flashing girl in lingerie on the screen of the V Tunnel site. This was at a Christian school, by the way. And when they found out that it was me, because like when they asked the nerds, they went, well, who did it? Well, who? Well, Rachel. Like, you're telling me Rachel hacked the school's computers? Like, yes. He's like, Rachel, who literally can't type. Like, literally almost failed typing and can't use a computer at all and keeps complaining about the fact that we won't let her go neo Amish. This Rachel, this is the one that hacked my school's computer system. And at that point, he kind of just looked at me and I'm like, what? Like, so how'd you do that? I'm like, well, have you ever read Machiavelli the Prince? He said that's what he's like, okay, everybody else out. Like, that led to a really long conversation about basically that I'm not trying to be evil, but like if you try to control me, I'm gonna fucking burn your house down. Like, uh, I did that by building all those people's skills up into something, right, and doing it. You once you do that, you can do anything. And if I'm doing that with his students, I could make his life a living hell if I really wanted to. I I did several other things at that school. I basically picked a fight with a feminist art teacher. It wasn't like a fist fight, it was like a girl fight. She didn't know that I was me, and she was treating me like I was not me, and probably shouldn't do that. She was treating me like I was some dumb jock something or other that she fucking hated like in high school. She had some like fucking hatred of fucking men, and many people suffered her. She was made to suffer me. And like that's been my experience in life and a lot of things. And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go be a jackass or whatever, but like I see people that are doing this shit. And I have this capability within me and I try desperately not to do it. Like it's a struggle. And like when I'm hanging out with people like, the boys, Matt, E Honda and all them, it's hard for me not to like, just try to have fun and relax and whatever. And then I just talk over people and I feel like shit about it. Anyway, uh, sorry, I don't know what to say after that. But my principal spent a lot of time talking to me after that one, and like he was talking about expelling me from the school and shit because of the hacking, and I'm like, it's hardly hacking. You're the one that has an internet security system based around kids being too stupid to figure out numbers. And that's when he laughed. And that's like the saving grace I always had with my principal there was that he was like a outdoorsman, hiker, camper, whatever, and liked a lot of the same shit as me and had a very sick, twisted sense of humor. And like I got away with murder there. He liked me because like uh they had testing requirements to get into that school. And whenever I went there, they were like, "Oh, you have to take this test or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And before the test, he was acting one way. After the test, he treated me all sorts of different. And I think like he's just looking to up the school's average or some shit like that. Because like for whatever reason, I can take any standardized test. I don't even need to know the material, and I'll test out in the upper percentiles of it, 98th, 99th percentile, no matter the subject matter. I can just do shit like that mostly by it's not that I know shit necessarily, and the reason I can do it on every subject matter is if you pick subject matters I really know nothing about, I'll get maybe a passing grade to maybe a high failing grade. But like if you pick subjects that I at least know something about, I'm gonna get A's. And the reason is like on a multiple choice test, if it's four answer, especially, there's only so many things they can write there. And like I'm a detective. I'm a natural bullshit detector. It's not that I am cheating, it's that I am using the test writer's logic against them to solve their own questions. Like, well, I know these aren't true because they're ridiculous. So these two are obviously, one of them must be the correct answer. And if you can do a 50-50 like that on 80 to 90% of the questions because of your encyclopedic knowledge of random shit mixed with your ability to read. And like that's the other thing is like I, for whatever reason, when I learned to read, I was really slow at it, and I ended up learning to reading a World War II encyclopedia, and it was written at a collegiate level, and I read that in the second grade because I was so fascinated by it. I wanted to learn all about it, and I taught myself to read by reading an encyclopedia, and I think because of that, I have really, really good reading comprehension, and the testing and shit bore that out. And I think that's half of why standardized tests are so easy to me. Is if you're looking at the test answers and questions from a language perspective of what is true and what is false or whatever, like I can't even give examples of this, but like some tests are easier than others. I will give you this, especially like the SATs are harder than the ACTs and shit like that. And like there are tests in high school that are like super, super hard because the teacher really knows their shit. And then there's tests in high school that are like nothing because the teacher's a dumbass. And like all of them have D, all of the above, which basically automatically assume it's probably not D, all of the above, but always know it could be. So, like, I usually just discount that answer until I look through all the others and go, well, it's clearly not any of those, so it must be D. And that's how I work those problems. Like, this is just some like basic common sense shit or whatever, but it's all of that kind of stuff that, like, I didn't hack the computers, I hacked the people. And they gave me a fucking detention for computer hacking along with everybody else that was in that room. That was popular. Although we were sitting in detention with Mr. Stoltzfus, who was the fucking history teacher slash driver's ed teacher slash coach. And we were all sitting there. We're not supposed to be talking. Someone at the back of the room says, honestly, we only got 1 day of detention. We had unlimited internet for 2 years. Thanks, Rachel. And I got a slow clap. And then Mr. Stoltz was like, y'all be quiet. So the other thing that he did, I said, was driver's ed. When we went in driver's ed, the first time I ever drove anywhere was in that car with him and 2 other people. And we went from Tulsa to Inola, which is like out past Catoosa. It's east of Tulsa, quite a ways. Not too far, but far enough. And I set the speed record in the driver's ed car. First time I'd ever driven anywhere was on the highway. And I don't know. We were going fast already, and I was like, he's slacking. I'm gonna see how fast I can get it. So I just kept bumping it up 5 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour. Eventually I was going 110 miles an hour in the fucking like 4-banger driver's ed car. And he realized how fast I was going and started applying the brake. And that's when he was like, holy shit, 110. Well, that's a new record. Like, well, I didn't want to disappoint. I want to go fast. I'll have to do more of these. The stories of fucking high school and shit. Like, I should definitely do stories of doing shit with my grandpa as a kid. You guys would probably love those stories. Jesus Christ. I think you would understand me a lot more after some of those stories. We'll save those for another day. Thanks for watching.